Hello and welcome to this Black Friday 2022 webinar. Thank you so much for joining me. This webinar is hosted by Vaimo and it is focused specifically on the app operational side of Black Friday. Just a little bit about Vaimo before we begin. We are a full service digital commerce agency. Our team is 500 plus strong, 20 offices spread across 15 countries. And we've delivered more than 400 commerce projects. In the last few years, we've had the good fortune to work with a number of amazing brands, many of which run Black Friday. And as a consequence, we have learned together with them about the things that need to be done, the things that need to be avoided, and the things that one can do to have a knockout Black Friday. And conversely, the things that one, if one forgets, ends up wrecking Black Friday altogether. So I'm going to take 2 minutes to introduce myself. I'm going to share my most embarrassing Black Friday story. I'm going to use the story to set out an agenda for the next 40 minutes. So my name is Nick Bennett. I'm head of operations for Vaimo Global. And I first experienced Black Friday as a e-commerce manager for a national retailer in South Africa. I moved over to working for Vaimo, South Africa in 2015 as an operations manager. And you know what, our most stressful time of year was always Black Friday. We had 20 clients, 10 of them were enterprise, and each of them had their own unique schedule and requirements. We supported them with a team of engineers and project managers, and I was responsible for kind of overseeing this operation. So I've seen Black Friday from both sides, as a client and as a service provider. And today's webinar is all about preparation and learning. And obviously one learns through failure. And so as an icebreaker to today's session, I'm going to share with you my biggest Black Friday mistake. And it all has to do with the popularity of this gorgeous little pink tent shaped like a cross between a pig and a unicorn, I think. So it was my first Black Friday. I was the e-commerce manager and I was under the impression that we had an ironclad plan. We'd agreed on the product range, the prices, when to drop the curtain, and how to advertise it. We were absolutely sorted. However, the day before Black Friday, the product manager for the tent department contacted me to say that they hadn't received all of the stock for the kiddies tents, but it was on the water, and he would have no problem overselling by 10 or so units. I thought, oh, this is easy. You know, we put the product onto back order, communicate to the e-commerce team to watch the stock, and we just deactivate the back order when we oversell, or when we're in danger of overselling. Unfortunately, when the e-commerce team did their shift change, this request was lost. The product team reduced the price even further, making it 50% off. Marketing sent out a promotional mailer without informing us, advertising the tent as the perfect stocking filler. And by 9 a.m. the next day, we'd sold 200 tents, of which there was no stock. So the perfect stocking filler became the perfect disaster. The stock itself was delayed until after Christmas. And as a consequence of this, our customer service department was totally overwhelmed. Social media was aflame with disappointed parents and grandparents. And you know what? Even though it was our best Black Friday financially to date, all the executive team could talk about was the kiddies tent debacle. And so what could have been something that was really great for me turned out to be something that was actually quite rotten. So what is the objective of today's webinar? Well, I'd like to help you avoid your own version of the kiddies tent debacle, or something much worse. And I'd like to equip you to have a knockout Black Friday 2022. Let me clarify who the audience is for this webinar. So this webinar is aimed at e-commerce managers, the people who ultimately stand in front of the board to give an account for Black Friday. It's quite an unusual topic, but we've found it to be very beneficial in the past. If you're not an e-commerce manager, but you're involved in some way, shape, and form in the e-commerce system, please stick around. There is something for everyone here. And the most common response to this webinar that I always get is, Nick, you know what? I prepared for 85% of the things that you'd mentioned, but 15% of the things I'd either forgotten or I'd postponed, and listening to you made me a little bit nervous. And you know what, tomorrow I'm going to make a phone call. I'm going to set up an important meeting with a head of a department. So I really hope that you find yourself in one of two categories. Either you listen to what I have to say and you're absolutely sorted, or you listen to what I say and you think, okay, great, there's a few items I need to conclude. So in terms of a roadmap for the next 40 minutes, well, we're going to start by aligning on what to expect for Black Friday 2022. We're going to discuss how you construct a winning Black Friday plan. And after that, I'm going to change perspectives completely. I'm going to talk about 5 things that typically derail Black Friday. And then I will conclude. There's not enough time to cover all the details in every slide. And I want to be very open that for the sake of time, I have excluded both security and performance testing from the scope of today's webinar. Both of these things are important. We could spend a whole hour speaking about each of these topics. There isn't time to do it all today, so I've chosen to exclude them. Let's kick off with what to expect from Black Friday 2022. Well, to be clear, this presentation is not about growth trends in Black November traffic or Black November sales. Both of these are, to be open, are proving tricky to forecast given the current economic climate. Will consumers spend less because they have less to spend, or will they simply delay their annual spending until the Black Friday specials are released? However, there are a few things that we think you should bear in mind for Black Friday 2022, and they're quite general things. The first thing is that fewer and fewer retailers talk about Black Friday. Instead, they refer to Cyber Week or Black Week or even Black November. And this change in vocabulary mirrors a change in strategy, namely that retailers no longer feel duty-bound to launch their campaign on Black Friday itself. They're very happy to experiment with promotions throughout November, even bleeding into December. The second thing is that retailers are favoring campaigns or promotions that allow them to be flexible. So they are reducing complexity in favor of more flexibility. And they want this because they want campaigns that allow them to launch early if they so choose, allow them to launch fast. And the reason that they want this is because many of them need to respond to Black Friday campaigns that are launched by competitors. So imagine that you've set up a phenomenal Black Friday campaign where you're selling nappies, for example, at a fantastic price. And you're planning on launching in 2 weeks, and then suddenly your biggest competitor breaks a similar campaign today. Nappies, 75% off. Now you might decide, listen, by the time people have finished purchasing nappies, they're not going to have any more money to spend on our nappies in 2 weeks' time. We're going to choose to launch our nappies tomorrow so that we are competing for the spend with this other customer. And we've seen, or this competitor, we've seen several of our clients pick up the phone. Hey, Vaimo, we know that we said we're launching in 2 weeks' time. We're actually launching this afternoon. We need your help. The third thing, it's a small thing, but worth mentioning, is that we anticipate that you will continue to and ah about the emphasis that you place on in-store versus curbside pickup. Curbside pickup was very popular in 2020 because it helped with social distancing. It actually held its position in 2021. It didn't really decrease in popularity, but we're interested to see what retailers do for 2022. Will the in-store experience experience a revival, or will we expect will curbside pickup still be a thing? Okay, so on that note, those 3 things, let's move to the focus of today's webinar, which is preparing a winning plan for Black November 2022. And it starts with a solid retrospective of Black Friday 2021. Now, there are dozens of good, sensible questions that you can ask. I've listed some of them on the slide, and I'm choosing to emphasize a few. Ask yourself, what caused refunds? Did you refund customers because you sold them stock that wasn't there? Did you refund customers because you were unable to fulfill their orders in time? In a proper refund analysis of 2021, we'll point to some of the stress campaigns of that year's, the stress points of that year's campaign, which tees you up nicely for 2022. Ask your team, guys, girls, where did we scramble? Was there confusion around when to drop the curtain? Did we scramble to reactivate our integrations after Black Friday finished? And again, this is going to point to things that you can improve for 2022. Ask yourself, what are we so thankful that we did in 2021? Perhaps you decided to start your campaign at midday, not midnight. Perhaps you hired an extra team of 5 to help you pick and pack. Whatever you're really glad that you did in 2021, it's probably a good idea to repeat it for 2022. You might also choose to ask, what did social media have to say? Did we meet our operational KPIs? The awkward question, where could we have done better? Did we clean up after ourselves? And this often trips up our clients. They execute Black Friday really well. When Black Friday is done, they fail to clean up efficiently. So once you've concluded your retrospective, you need to spend some time analyzing your key metrics from 2021. Peak daily traffic, peak hourly traffic. What sold and what didn't? Was your catalog for 2021 perhaps better than the catalog that's being pushed onto you for 2022? Do you have any hope of meeting your revenue targets in 2022 if the product catalog is inferior to last year's? Will this product mix yield a better Black Friday result or a worse one? Step 3. In step 1 and 2, you did a retrospective and you looked at some database insights. The next step is to raise the alert level internally. Well, what do I mean by this? Well, if you believe that Black Friday 2022 is going to be complex, time sensitive, challenging, it's going to be marked by more growth, more competition, more complexity, then we think that it is prudent for you to lead the rest of your business to a place where they agree with you. And achieving this alignment, where you and the business are on the same page about what you think is going to happen, it's going to make it so much easier for you to drive a successful Black Friday 2022 through the business with minimum obstruction. If there's no alignment, progress is more difficult. With alignment, progress is easier. On the back of raising the alert level, get executive level buy-in on the business's objectives for Black Friday. You might say, oh, come on, Nick, this is so obvious. It's obviously revenue. Well, maybe, perhaps it is, but it's still really useful to be in the same room as the executives, to discuss it with them, and to hear them tell you what their objectives are. What does winning look like? Is it about customer experience? Is it about speed? Is it about number of orders? Is it about revenue? Or what are they after? What is a reasonable number of orders to expect this year? It's also a great opportunity for you to say, oh, whoa, you're expecting this type of revenue. I tell you already, we don't even have that much stock available to sell. We can't reach those revenue targets. It's a great opportunity just to agree on the destination. And if you agree on the destination with your executive team, then it's really going to help you plan the journey to get there. Excuse me. So after getting exec level buy-in, we recommend that you hear everyone out. What do I mean by this? Well, Black Friday typically touches many departments in the business, and that the representatives in these departments might not have as much experience as you in a time-sensitive promotion like Black Friday, or the complexities of running an online versus a brick-and-mortar store. And it's often these people that make planning for Black Friday a difficult and tricky process. And I've put a few examples down here that I've recorded over the years, having worked with multiple clients and indeed being an e-commerce manager myself. So let's imagine a dear e-commerce manager scenario, and we're going to start off with the marketing department. So, dear e-commerce manager, hey, we know it's 3 weeks before Black Friday. We just wanted to let you know that we've decided that the website should be black. Black, you say? Do you mean just the Black Friday page? No, we'd like the whole website to be black and white, including our logo and our transactional mailers. Let's change everything to grayscale. Okay. What about the people department? Well, the people department says, dear Black Friday, we'd like to extend the online Black Friday specials to our workforce too. They've worked really hard this year. We'd like to reward them. Everyone should get a staff discount of 5% on selected products. And it should be simple. They should just be able to input their staff numbers on checkout. Or maybe it's the product department. Our dear e-commerce manager, we've got this fantastic idea. We want to drop 15 new products every hour from 8 p.m. to midnight. And each hour, the percentage discount should increase by 5%. Unfortunately, we can only give you the final list of products and prices the day before. Or maybe it's the technology department. Dear e-commerce manager, we think we need to double server capacity, but we need to let our hosting company know tomorrow. Please can you just sign this bill for £10,000? It is your budget, after all. Or maybe it's the customer experience department. Dear e-commerce manager, we are designing custom Black Friday wrapping paper. All goods purchased should be wrapped in this paper before being delivered to customers. Please make it happen. Or maybe it's the customer data department, or dear e-commerce manager, so many new people are going to come to our sites. What a fantastic opportunity to capture new customer data. We would like you to add a survey to the homepage that anyone who falls on the homepage over Black Friday is forced to answer before they can shop online. Or maybe it's the finance department. Dear e-commerce manager, a new payment gateway has approached us. This could be a good time to try them out. They're offering us great terms. Let's do it for Black Friday. Now, my intention here is not to ridicule these departments. These are examples of suggestions that appear at face value to someone who has not experienced Black Friday from a technical perspective. They appear to be quite easy things to do. But the challenge, however, is that within each of these, if you agree to them, they could actually have quite serious repercussions for a Black Friday campaign, one part of the process. And importantly for the e-commerce manager, for your stress levels, if you agree to some of these things. But fortunately, because you've taken the time to agree on your key objectives with the executive team for Black Friday, you can use these objectives as a framework to evaluate each proposal. Do we really have enough time to test a whole new payment gateway before Black Friday? Is it really worth slowing down order fulfillment just to wrap each parcel? And what we see is that 9 times out of 10, retailers will favor a less is more approach. And let me tell you folks, this is a wise approach. Let me give you 2 examples. So, dear people department, we understand why you want to run staff discounts on the site over Black Friday. One of our key objectives, aligned with the executive team, is site performance. And we just really do not feel comfortable adding additional logic to the checkout that validates staff numbers. It's going to slow down the site. We don't want anything to upset this one shot. We're choosing not to do this. Dear customer data department, we understand why you want to use this as an opportunity to get customer data. But one of our key objectives is revenue. If we ask every customer to complete a survey, fewer customers are going to check out than would otherwise. We are choosing not to implement this suggestion. And at Vaimo, we are massive fans of the less is more approach, and this is largely due to some of the complexity, the unnecessary complexity that we've seen our retailers or our clients introduce over Black Friday, often to their detriment. Now, operationally, there are some common decisions that you can make that support a less is more approach to Black November, and I'd like to share a few of these just to get you thinking. So, first up, you can choose to reduce the number of available payment methods. This reduces friction. So sometimes retailers will choose to deactivate payment methods like bank transfer payment or pay on credit or rewards-based tender, and they simply channel all of the customers to credit cards. So if you want these specials, you need to pay with the credit cards. These other Payment methods that are longer and can cause confusion, those we're taking off the table. Many of our retailers will simplify delivery options. So if they typically offer 5-day, overnight, or express delivery, they might for Black Friday deactivate all options except 5-day delivery. They know that their specials are good enough that people will shop and that people will accept the 5-day fulfillment time, and so they'd rather take the pressure off by removing overnight and express. Now, certain voucher or coupon types add a significant technical load to checkout that can be undesirable during Black November. And so what we see some retailers doing is removing all unnecessary vouchers and deferring to a simple was now pricing to drive interest. Some retailers deactivate click and collect for Black Friday. Why? Well, they want their stores to be freed up to focus on in-store activities. They want the website to focus on delivery. Some of our clients will add a queuing system. Visitors are kept in an online waiting room and they are trickled onto the site to prevent performance degradation. It's not incredibly popular, but it is typically happens. Typically 2 or 3 of our retailers per year will do this. Optimize the picking and packing process. So over Black Friday, many retailers will remove the gift wrap option from their online store altogether. Also, don't forget to add or to order more of the right size boxes or packaging. Nothing worse than having a run on GPSs, but you only have boxes that are the size of a cooler box. So you end up putting this GPS in this gigantic box. It's just inefficient. So if performance is king, what unnecessary processes can we stop for Black Friday? Can we deactivate integrations for 24 hours? A common and popular choice and one that we recommend. Should we deactivate our customer service desk for the next 2 days? Again, a popular choice and one that we recommend. So let's take a step backwards. Where are we in the context of this webinar? Well, at this stage, you should have an agreed set of objectives and a Black Friday plan that is tailored to meet those objectives. And in the process of creating this plan, you've involved business at both an executive and a departmental level. And although some departments might be disappointed that their ideas were not implemented, at least they feel involved in the process. And all that's left is the simple task of implementing or executing your Black Friday 2022 plan. Okay, if the last 20 minutes were successful, which I hope that they were, then hopefully you are already starting to kind of mull over your Black Friday plan. Perhaps you've made a note of a particular report that you need to pull first thing tomorrow, or a department head that you need to chat to one-on-one. Perhaps you've actually got all your bases covered. And let me tell you that if you're in that position, you've got all your bases covered, fantastic. I'll tell you right now that you're more prepared than most of our clients. Okay, so let's change focus to something a little bit more pessimistic, namely the 5 things that typically derail Black Friday. Now, why are we doing this? Why am I choosing this pessimistic path towards the end of this webinar? Well, we want to tell you what the snakes in the grass are so that you can look out for them so they don't bite you on the foot. It's as simple as that. So here we go. Number 1, snake number 1, dropping the curtain. Retailers are faced with this decision. Do we have a big ban or do we have a protracted release of product specials? Here at folks, we're seeing more and more retailers electing for a drip feed approach rather than to release all the specials in one go. Why do they do this? Well, there is a lot of pressure and anxiety that comes with a big bang curtain drop. If you drop the curtain 5 minutes early, then customers accuse you of unfairly prejudicing people who just happen to be on the site beforehand. If you drop the curtain 5 minutes too late, your customers accuse you of being disorganized and wasting their time. Is it worth it? Is it really worth it? If you decided to go ahead with a midnight launch, do you let everyone off the site at the same time, or do you force people to queue? So more and more retailers are saying, guys, the juice isn't worth a squeeze. We're going to do a drip feed approach as opposed to a big bang. Number 2, adding or removing products from the catalog mid-Black Friday. Now, it is very common for products to be added or removed from the Black Friday range on the day itself. Your product department might say, guys, this needs to go, this needs to be included. And if you need to achieve this, then you need to, in a sense, interrupt the online store from whatever it's busy doing and saying, hey, I want to force you to show this category, I want to force you to show this product. And there's often a performance price to this interruption. And what we recommend is that you chat to your technical partners about the lowest risk methods of enabling and disabling categories, enabling and disabling products, adding and removing badges. I'll tell you, when I chat to e-commerce managers about Black Friday, they will often tell me that their most stressful moments are when the product team calls to insist that you please just quickly remove these 3 products and refresh the category. That's when it becomes most stressful. The third point is very similar to the last and has to do with updating prices and stock. Now, prices change mid-Black Friday, and obviously so does stock. And perhaps you've chosen to make what we think is a wise decision, namely to deactivate integrations. And if you've done so, then the price and the stock is not flowing through from your ERP to your online store. And again, what we recommend is chat to your technical partners about the lowest risk methods of adjusting prices and adjusting stock. Because again, there is an interruption cost. There is a performance cost every time you interrupt the store to say, hey, listen, I want to force this price and you want to force the stock on you. And we just want to let the online store leave it to do what it needs to do. The fourth snake in the grass is unplanned marketing. It causes a monster surge on the site. Now, this is often just good old-fashioned miscommunication between the e-commerce department and the marketing department. We've seen several Black Friday campaigns derailed because the marketing department sent a mail drop outside of the agreed schedule. The fifth snake in the grass has to do with unforeseen or unplanned routines. Now, it is not uncommon for Black Friday performance to be unsettled by the running of an unforeseen routine. Now, outside of Black Friday peak, you'll typically have several people in your business who are allowed to do things like flash cash or reindex. And over Black Friday, you should be very clear that only you, or you in this case, the e-commerce manager or your technical partner, can do this. In fact, we recommend going so far as to restricting admin panel access to only a few number of people over this time. And there are 2 examples from our world that have led us to this conclusion. So 3 years ago, a member of our client's e-commerce team elected to run a full search reindex just as we dropped the curtain and hit the site with 20,000 visitors. It was disastrous. All these people arrived on the site, couldn't use search. Well, they could use it, but they couldn't. It was useless. And 2 years ago, at 1 in the morning, one of our client's systems suddenly started processing orders at half the speed. Client called us in a flat panic, said, what the hell's going on with my site? And it turned out that a member of the finance team who had admin panel access had logged onto the admin panel and requested the system to do a full export of all orders for the last 12 months. Essentially meaning the system is dividing its attention between 2 massive tasks, taking orders and running an export of all historical order data. And that wouldn't have happened if they just locked admin panel access. Now, guys, there are loads of things that an e-commerce manager needs to think about, loads of dangers that they need to think about in preparation for Black Friday. But these 5 that I've just mentioned, we recommend that they get a lot of attention. So, in conclusion, let me recap the main points of this webinar. Firstly, we believe that an e-commerce manager's best move always is to assume that this Black Friday is going to be the most complex Black Friday to date. It doesn't matter how many times you do Black Friday, what will typically happen is year on year. So you'll become complacent, you will misremember things, and in doing so, you run the risk of dropping the ball. The way to guard against this is just to pinch yourself, say, hey, this is the most Black Friday. This is the most complex Black Friday to date. And for most retailers, Black Friday will remain the single most time-sensitive promotion activity that they do all year. And because we hear so much about it, we become kind of numb to it, but it doesn't hurt to remind your business, guys, we've got one shot at this. Let's not mess this up. So what I then did was I spent a fair amount of time describing the skeleton of a successful Black Friday plan. You start with a retrospective. You analyze key data. You raise the alert level internally. You meet with your execs. You agree on the top 3 objectives for Black Friday. You then use these objectives as a framework to decide which Black Friday activities to do and which to exclude altogether. And then, once you have a plan, you practice it. Do a dry run, do 2 dry runs, do 3 dry runs. And the single decision to do a dry run could be the difference between an average and a great Black Friday. And most of our enterprise retailers will happily do several dry runs before the big deal itself. And we finish off with 5 things that typically derail a successful Black Friday campaign. Folks, I want to say a massive thank you for joining me for this webinar. Vaimo is an expert in building commerce solutions and customer experience solutions for retailers, merchandisers, you name it. And we've had a ton of experience in Black Friday. I think this year we are looking after over 75 Black Friday campaigns across our business. If you want to chat to someone, to review your Black Friday plan with someone from our team, please reach out to us. If not, I'd like to wish you the best of luck for Black Friday 2022. I hope that it is a cracker, and I hope that it is as stress-free as possible for you and your team. Thanks very much.